Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome to the Oracle of the Light channel. My name is SP Psychic Medium, and it's so lovely of you all to join me today. Welcome, first of all, to all my new subscribers. Hello, and welcome to my other viewers that keep joining and watching. I do appreciate you all. Also, don't forget, before we begin, to give it a thumbs up as well, and do subscribe below. It's free to subscribe, and it really, really does mean so much when you subscribe. Also, today's show is for entertainment purposes only, as I'm sure you're all aware of too. So, today's show, Felon in Panic. So let's just give you a little bit of a rundown before we begin the reading. Yeah, it's an interesting story, really. There have been rumors that Felon 45 is panicking about the economy. The reason why he's panicking so much is that he's afraid that there might be a recession like in 1929, and it's on his watch. That's the thing. It's like traceable back to him. And I think that he's panicking about that, you know. So he's already, there's a few things and movement going on already. He's already in the process of there are also rumors going around about Felon 45 making JD Vance the tariff czar, making him the chair that looks after the group and the tariffs. And I wonder why he's doing that. I think it's because he maybe doesn't want to take direct blame for it. So if he makes him in charge of it, he's a good person to, like, that's basically throwing him under the bus. But yeah, it's not finalized yet, but there is words apparently as well going on about a working group that may include the likes of JD Vance, Scott Bessent, Kevin Hassett, and other people. Kevin Hassett, sorry, other people in that group. And I think the purpose of that group, as I say, is to portion blame, if you like. Probably it's like being given a poison chalice, really. The tariffs, you know. And I always equate it to, like, if you like, Donald, I know they said it, but Felon 45 going into a room and playing with all of the toys, and then going again and saying to Vance, go and clear all those toys up for me, you know. And it's a bit like that, you know, leaving the toys all. Felon 45 plays with everything, messes about with it, leaves it all untidy and everything, and sends someone else to clean it up and take the blame for it. So I think that's what might be going on. It's not. It is all being finalized and everything at the moment. But yeah, there's also rumors that Felon 45 is panicking too, which is quite significant. So what we're going to be doing today, we've got a couple of questions to ask. I'm going to be using my tarot cards and oracle cards. The questions we're going to ask today this is our first question. It's been rumored that Felon 45 is panicking about a possible crash in the economy like in 1929. Is this the case? Let's ask the cards to see what they say at this moment, because remember, all these readings are given at this moment. Things can change and people's decisions change, and we always have free will in every reading. Okay, just like every reading's for entertainment purposes only, people always have free will in readings as well. It's always important. So yeah, but this is mainly, the first question is about the panicking. You know, what's going on? You know, this is the beauty of the tarot cards. It can open things out and give us these, shine a light into these aspects of things that are going on around our life, because all these things do affect us, you know, particularly if it's going to be, if that is going to be brought on. That's really significant, and let's hope it never happens, but let's see what the cards say. And then the second question, is there a possibility of a market crash like in 1929? So yeah, we're saying possibility. Hopefully people will step in and things will happen to prevent it, but we'll just see what the cards say. It might say that there isn't going to be one. We'll just see. So as I say, for entertainment purposes only. So get the cards out. So I'm going to get a line of 4 cards out, I think, and I'm going to get we'll get 4 cards below, I think, as well. So I'm just going to shuffle the cards a good old bit. So our first question then. It's been rumoured that Felon 45 is panicking about a possible crash in the economy like in 1929. Is this the case? Felon 45 panicking. Just giving them a good mix up and shuffle up. Getting a shuffle on, as we say. Okay, so let's move it down here so you can see my beautiful table. Just here. So let's just divide them. You can divide. I'm going to get 4 cards out. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to get now, before I begin the reading, I'm also going to get 7 of the Oracle of the Light deck out as well. So I'll shuffle them and then I'll lay them down and then begin the reading. So this first one is about panicking. Just some interesting cards coming out here. I'm going to get 2 of these cards out. So just divide them. Heart of Wisdom and wow, lots of Buddha. So interesting. Yeah. So let's have a look at that. So let's start off. So first of all, I feel this is like a going round in circles card. Okay, and it was the right way up, this card. So this to me is that there's definitely a sense of when you're going around in circles, often you go around in circles when you don't spend enough time thinking about what you need to do. And it's like, stop, relax, you can do this. When you start to go around in circles, it's definitely showing a side of like a bit of panicking going on, I do feel, you know, because panicking is when you go looking around in circles like, what, I need this and I need this, what do I need, you know? Starting to almost gather the troops as well. So I might like these actions of getting this potential possibly of making JD Vance the tariff czar. That is one of these potential ones in the ground here. So you see all these different actions that are happening around him to try and like apportion blame somewhere else rather than maybe stop it. It's more to probably apportion, make sure he doesn't get blamed in that sense. Felon doesn't get blamed. I think he will. Well, I don't know whether he will try and stop it completely because at the heart of it all is this tariff thing that's been going on, you know, and you got to remember that Felon 45 does only think about Felon 45, and this is where the second card comes in here. I need to go straight to the second card about. I don't know whether Felon 45 will ever stop the tariffs, even if there is like a crash, because to him, the crash is an opportunity to make money. So the reason why he won't want a crash connected to his name is it'll actually bring some accountability into the picture. That accountability and Felon 45 are like water and oil, you know. Accountability and Felon 45 just don't mix. Like truth and Felon 45 don't mix, you know. So to me, I don't know whether it ever will, because the reason why I'm saying that is this is a building up money card, okay? I think he will be still building up money. I'd be interested to know if it was to crash, what he would buy at that time. What would happen with all of that? Because I wouldn't put it past some interesting purchases around that time, let's say, you know. It's certainly something to be watching if it does happen. Of course, this isn't the reading as if it's going to happen or not, but this is certainly a sense of him panicking. But there's also a certain sense of him continuing to count his money. He always goes back to money with Felon 45, and this is just that, you know, he really couldn't care if it brings on this such unhappiness like it is already. Like those people are really living in a very dystopian world there. And but he couldn't care less, because as long as his money is piling up here, then he's okay. And I think that he's definitely, as much as he's panicking about something potentially being labeled to him and putting a stain on his name, I think he's also thinking about money making opportunities too. It does look like 1929, yeah. Yeah, it does look like 1929. It feels like he is definitely preparing for something. That's what I can say. It feels like he is definitely preparing for something. The King of Swords upside down. I feel this might be JD Vance, actually, I feel. And because he's holding this poison chalice, he's holding the sword. And also, it's the reason why I'm saying it's that is because if you're made in charge of this thing that is intrinsically connected to the economy being unstable around the world, not just in one country, then this person has been almost like made a scapegoat, which is why it's upside down, you know. Also, as well, this person wants to look all fine and you can trust me and everything like that, but really, turn the card upside down to see the real truth of the matter. You know, I think that's really the case there. Also, now this is interesting too. There's a lot of denial going on with Felon 45 too, but also I think this is more of a case of like he doesn't want to put his name to anything that might be traceable back to him in any way, like some sort of crash, you know, because he believes he's this amazing businessman. He believes he's this amazing person. In actual fact, he's bankrupted plenty of companies over the years, and everything he touches seems to collapse, you know. And I think this is the same sort of denial, you know. He's going to put his coat of denial on and walk away from all of the hurt that he's creating around him. Because if there is a collapse, there is one, it will certainly hurt a lot of people in America, you know, not just him. A lot of the businesses, the trading, it's quite, and also for the amount of time it will affect, you know. Do you see those swords almost going off into the distance in that card? And I feel that that is to do with the hurt that is already created. Now, this hurt in the card might not be the collapse, because I do feel that decisions have already been taken that are going to have long-standing effects for a long time. These are some of the decisions that have already been made there. So don't feel that these are just necessarily a collapse here, okay? But it's certainly not looking great, I have to say. But we can't deny all of the hurt that has already been done, even though they've been hardly in for any amount of time, you know? You just cannot ignore that hurt that's going deep to a lot of people. Look at all the protests everywhere, you know? Look at all these different things, you know? So there's definitely this coat of denial. But remember, I think what's important for people is to remember that that's merely just a cloth. It's not a shield. And so he likes to portray himself as this strong person. He likes to portray himself as having a lot of power, but he hasn't. He hasn't, you know. It's very often it's other people alongside him that facilitate things. He's like the catalyst, but it's other. He needs people to come together with. The enablers are also here, but also they don't hold the power, because power is in with us, in our diversity and our beautifulness and love in our hearts, and that's stronger than anyone can ever possibly comprehend, you know. And that's where the true power lies, remember, okay? And it's far stronger than any flimsy little coat of denial, you know. It does remind me of a 1980s sort of raincoat jacket that I do see him in, you know. A really old style, like Inspector Gadget kind of jacket, you know. It definitely reminds me of that, you know. So, Heart of Wisdom, he's made lots of very unwise choices, and he's now really nervous about things. That you could almost say karma in that sense is going to come and get him, but we must remember with karma that it doesn't judge. Okay, karma is merely the effect of the causes that have been created. Unfortunately, Felon 45, we could argue that the causes that he's created, of course, have been very negative, you know, to mistreat people and to treat people early and without giving any of them due, what's that phrase, due process and everything like that. Can you imagine the causes that you're setting in place there? That cause of injustice, that cause of of treating people in that way. It's just inhumane, you know. And so when you treat people like that, that does create that negativity it will come back and bite you at some point. Okay, it's the very nature of energy. What you give, you receive, you know. And so if you give negativity, you receive it, you know. And I feel this is very much in the idea of that, which means it doesn't rule out a possible market crash. I really hope there isn't one, but it doesn't rule it out, because if there was something to be connected to that would forever be a weight around his neck, that is something that would haunt him, I believe, you know. And that's just, this is like a card of unwise choices. And then the Lotus of Buddha upside down this is all about him wanting to portray that he's godly and that he portray he's religious and look at me, I'm very religious and look at me, and yet where's the compassion and where's the love? You know, it's all a show. You know, this is on its head. This card is on its head. If this was the right way up, then you could say that this is compassion and warmth and everything. But opposite way around, there's zero compassion, zero love, cold-hearted, couldn't think twice about anyone, really doesn't care about anyone, you know, just really cold person, that would do all of the things that would send back lots of regret. As we've already said in this card, has no love or anyone for any one of these people suffering these fears in society at the moment and everything. No compassion or warmth at all, you know. And of course, it comes from the top, so that goes down the regime. Okay, he's brought this like attitude of like this cold-heartedness, and remember, it's not acceptable. You know, we live in a world where we should value compassion and love for one another and cherishing one another. Okay, respecting one another and valuing truth and honesty. Okay, we should never have to be afraid of truth in a civilized world. Okay, that's you know, that's what I personally believe anyway, you know. So going back to the question, it has been rumored that Felon 45 is panicking about a possible crash in the economy like in 1929. Is this the case? Looking back at the cards, things twisting around, piling up his money in preparation, handing the poison chalice to someone else, trying to portion blame, trying to walk away from all the hurt that he's created from the tariffs that have already been in place that have caused absolute chaos, making unwise decisions, and with that cold-heartedness. I think the answer is yes, he's panicking at that. I do believe he's panicking. It might not be, of course, but I do believe that that there's panicking going on behind the scenes. Okay, so the first question. Now the second question: is there a possibility of a market crash like in 1929? I really hope there is not going to be a crash. You must understand that. This is the last thing we want, as if things aren't bad enough, you know. I'm really feeling for everyone over there in America, you know. It's really tough, and it's just should never even be happening, you know. So I think we need to send all of our love and support to all those people over in America, and we can support them by also supporting these the blackouts and things like this. Stop buying from these big companies. Stop buying from those companies that have wiped out the diversity policies and stuff like this. You know, we can help people, even though we might not be in those countries. It is possible to help, and even just sending your wishes to them in your mind is very, very powerful. Okay, so is there a possibility of a market crash? Let's just see what the cards say, because I really, really do hope there is not going to be a crash, because there's been enough suffering already. Let's see what the cards say. Okay. So I'm just going to get one card out to begin with. I just want to get to the point. Let's say. I'm just going to put it on top. The Empress. I want another card to Tower. Okay. So, so the Empress. So I think that, so I need to connect these two cards up because actually they do make more sense together. It feels like there is definitely going to be a crash or definitely a dip in the economy here, you know. And the reason I'm saying that is the Tower, you know. The Tower is all about the kingdom come falling down, isn't it? You know, the Tower, also the king falling off his tower too. This might be also something that you see. The thing is, even though situations, we could never wish situations on anybody, we would never wish a market crash. It could be the economy that actually moves people to act on Felon 45 sooner than they expected. It could be the economy that speeds up the impeachment process. It could be the economy that speeds up people speaking up and going, we've gone far enough. We've gone far enough, you know? So, because I'm definitely, the reason why I'm saying that is because this tower, that crown falling off the tower is really significant. We all know that Felon 45 almost sees himself as a king in a way. And that's definitely the king falling out of his tower, you know. It does also represent the crash in that sense, in the sense of that tower falling down, the economy falling down. You know, I really hope it doesn't, but it does represent that, you know. But it does also see this is now the all-knowing eye in the top of the sky there represents that karma that I was talking about. When we let people create these actions, when we let people do these actions, there is repercussions from those actions. When people do bad actions, there are bad repercussions. So if there was to be a crash, the first questions we should be asking is why? And I think we'd know who we'd get to quite fast as to why. That's what this is also why we might not get a crash, because people may step in to prevent the crash and also step in to just go, whoa, let's hold up enough, you know. So it's quite interesting. Now this person, I believe, is the Felon, this card here, and I think this is now this person, to me, if you look at their face, they're actually quite tricky and scheming. Can you see how she's looking sideways a little bit? She's not looking you in the eye. And that's Felon through and through. Just not looking anybody in the eye, you know, not even his family, you know. There's a real sense of like, you couldn't trust this person, you know. Also, you need to recognize how this person is wearing rich, expensive clothes. They think they're it. But don't forget, this card was upside down. So this to me is this person has got their riches through malicious causes, through backhanded ways of doing business, etc. This person has got their money from in this card, you know. They seen themselves as the most important. They really couldn't care less about anybody else. And yeah, and that because they're so self-obsessed with them, then they brought the kingdom down almost. And it's kind of ironic because Felon 45 is like there's nothing more he wants than a big kingdom. But the strange irony is he's just so selfish and so self-obsessed. It's like he's almost like his own self. He trips himself up. You don't need anyone to trip Felon 45 up. He can do it himself, you know. Yeah, really interesting. I'm going to get one more card from the Oracle of the Light. Is there a possibility of a market crash? So the card is Silent Wisdom. So this is a really interesting card. So what I was saying about earlier whether someone will speak up and go, enough is enough. This is really a card of, are people going to keep their voices shut? This card is about listening, but this card is also about, in terms of the speaking up. I think if people don't speak up and try and do something and go, this is just crazy, why on earth is this we're letting this happen to us, then there will be a crash. And as you can see, it goes from the wonderful soaring, beautiful white wings to right to a dark thing at the end of it. And that's literally like, the less you say, the more things are going to reduce and reduce. And it's thing, you know, opportunities are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. If you don't speak up for your neighbor, then one day there'll be no one up to speak up for you. Okay. If you don't speak up for your neighbor, one day there'll be no one to speak up for you. And that's the big message here. Okay. It applies also to the economy. If you're concerned about the economy, speak up, say something, do something. You know, if you don't, then who will there be left to speak up about it one day? Okay, I think that's what this card is about. It's about things aren't looking positive for it, but it's also going, we don't have to go into that if we don't wish, you know. We don't speak up and use your voice, use the power of your voice, you know. A really interesting reading. So we can see, we'll just go back over that question. Is there a possibility of a market crash like in 1929? And we had the Empress upside down, someone very self-obsessed, a bit scheming though. And ironically, as much as they want a huge kingdom, they're their own, they trip themselves up, you know, they actually trip themselves up with it. And then Silent Wisdom, this is almost about everyone in the country going, this is your country. Now is the time for people to stand up for their country. And if there's things going on you don't like, don't feel you don't have power. It's important to go to town halls, to call your senators, to stuff, do everything like that. Come together and connect, you know. And by doing that, this card says that maybe things don't have to happen like they're looking like. Maybe they could be avoided, you know. So a real interesting reading. Listen, everybody, I do hope you've enjoyed the show today. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and do subscribe below. It really does mean so much. Listen, everybody, so take care with lots of love and light from the Oracle of Light. I will see you all really soon. Take care, everybody, and goodbye.